And welcome back to Iron Sports. Now, Jamaica's national cycling team returned recently from a road race development meet in Cuba, where they were continuing their preparation for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. We're here to discuss what took place there in Cuba and also to look at the latest developments as it regards cycling in Jamaica is national cycling head coach Carlton Simmonds. So, Simmonds, welcome back to Iron Sports.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you with us as usual. Your trip to Cuba recently, tell us a little bit about how things went. We understand when you got there, things weren't as favorable in terms of accommodation, etc. How challenging was it?
I mean, that statement that I saw in the paper was a fluke, really.
Yeah.
The event itself, in terms of the hosting, was excellent.
Right.
You know, to plan something 6 weeks in advance is always going to be a challenge. But I think they did a very good job in Cuba in hosting, because Haiti was supposed to host the event. I think they had won the bid.
Right.
But because of security challenges, it was a late shift to Cuba.
Right.
Now, to host an event such as the Caribbean Elite, it takes like a full year in terms of planning preparation. And this year, the CCC had the biggest showing in terms of amount of countries that took part in the championships. This year we had like 23, 25 countries,
Wow.
which has been the biggest showing since the inception of the Caribbean Cycling Championships. So
And it was more road racing, right?
it was road racing and time trial
Right.
for road.
All right. It was an 8-member team.
It was an 8-member team. We had 6 cyclists, and the management team was 2 persons.
In terms of our overall performance, were you pleased? And what performance or performer stood out for you from our team?
I am pleased. I mean, we had like 6 weeks to prepare the team based upon the challenges that we have in terms of funding and with the movement of the championships and the uncertainty of the championships this year. We had 6 riders. The biggest number of the team was under 23. I think we had 4 riders under 23 because we were pushing to develop a young squad because the focus is 2024.
Right.
I think the team did incredibly well. The event saw 90 starters for the male in the road race, and we had 2 riders actually completing the event. And one was an under 23. He capped 38 overall. The best place finisher, which was Russell Small, he finished 21st. But for me, the standout was an 18-year-old who took up the sport now a year. His name is Brandon Baker out of Clarendon. I put him to do the individual time trial, and he finished 22nd out of 29 starters and had 2 crashes in the event. And he was the 11th place under 23 in the event, which are a mixture of elite plus under 23.
Right.
So for me, he was the standout, because when you see an athlete crashing the way he did and got back up on the bike to finish the event, that to me as a coach speaks volume.
Yeah. You mentioned the 2024 Olympic Games. In respect to, but before that comes the 2020 Games in Tokyo, Japan next year. How is it looking for us in terms of having a cyclist there? Because we haven't had a cyclist at the Olympic Games since about 2008, thereabouts, in Beijing, China. Yeah.
I mean, the only person that we had who stood a chance to qualify was Delia Palmer. And I think it has reached a point now where she won't be able to, because of where she is in her points and in her overall ranking at the moment. So she will not be there. So we will not have an athlete at 2020. But the push now is 2024. Because I think 2024 it is more doable based upon the structure that will be in place in terms of how the qualifying system is set up. It will be more doable.
And in respect to having the necessary development meets locally, to keep the young cyclists active, are you pleased with what is in place and what can be done towards 2024?
I mean, I'm not happy because we need more racing, because yes, you can train as hard as you can, but without practicing in that environment, the development process is going to slow. But the federation, as it is now, is kind of under a lot of constraints. So we are now engaging the clubs and private persons to come on board to help push that in terms of getting races up and going. Because the federation alone can't do it. Because when you look at the constraints in terms of trying to run the federation, trying to prepare teams, trying to get equipment for teams, it's a heavy cost in those areas, and the resources that the federation gets from the entities, the Sports Development Corporation, is not sufficient.
Last year, you'd have gotten a bit of funding from JOA towards, I think it's O'Shane Williams and his participation at the Commonwealth Games. How effective was that, and is the JOA right there to assist you in your own plan?
Well, I mean, JOA is doing a lot for cycling. In terms of the budget for Dahlia, push for 2020, that was fully subsidized by the JOA, and to some extent the Sports Development Corporation. So the Olympic Association has been working with cycling.
Yeah. In terms of an age-old question now is that of the velodrome and what is being done and how soon work can start towards Jamaica having a brand new velodrome, because we have an archaic one at the National Stadium facility.
Well, I mean, where we are at now, we are waiting to meet with the minister to have dialogue again. We have presented drawings, costings. So we are waiting now to hear what the next move is. You know, I mean, the velodrome as it is now is going to be dug up shortly. Yeah. Because there was a meeting, I think last week or this week, Monday, or somewhere around there, where they invited us, you know, the sporting fraternities, people who uses the stadium complex itself, to speak to the plans. But in that, there is no plan, no talk of a velodrome.
Lands was identified, was it not?
Yes.
Where exactly?
It's the east side, the area across from the Siamese football field.
Right. And that is where that is still in place?
Well, to my knowledge.
All right. Another question would be Marlo Rodman, and he was on track towards qualifying for the 2020 Olympic Games until his unfortunate road accident. What's the latest on Marlo at this point in time?
Well, Marlo is still recouping from that. I mean, there's the court case that I think is still happening. But, I mean, he's in good spirit. I mean, he's still on the bike now and then. Yeah. So, you know, we are hoping for the best where that is concerned.
Yeah, I understand that he could well be looking towards paracycling.
Well, that's a conversation that he's looking into to see how we can fit in that space. I think there's been conversation with Mr. Samuda, who is the president for the Paralympic Association. Right. So we'll see how that pans out.
All right. But in terms of overall cycling now, and in terms of those you look towards as our next best hope, is there any particular cyclist or group of cyclists that, outside of the under-23s, that you'd say you're working with?
Well, I mean, it's looking promising. We have a good cadre of under-23s, which would be the next group that you'll be looking for our 2024. You know, one of the big push now is to see how we can get the cycling in schools.
Right. Yeah,
we started a program with Kingston College that we're planning to kickstart again. We went to Bel Air in Mandeville, where we introduced the cycling in their sports day. So these are some of the things that we're doing. We're even pushing now to get back BMX cycling.
Yes.
So we are engaging back the foundation in Arakabessa that manages the facility, and to kickstart that program again, because BMX is a strong Olympic sport. Yes. So we are pushing that. And there's a cadre of youngsters who, under the then Jonathan Gass, who used to run and operate the program over there, that we are re-engaging to push that side of it as well.
Coach Carlton Simmonds, thank you so very much for
hopping
off your bike and joining us here on Iron Sports, and certainly we'll be following up with you.